Welcome to the Sports Betting Podcast from pregame.com for November 19th, 2009. I'm your host, RJ Bell. I'm joined by Vegas runner, genuine professional bettor here in Las Vegas, Marco D'Angelo, 30 years in the business. This is segment 1 of 6, big game preview, Ohio State, Michigan. What's the line, Vegas runner?
All right, this one opened up at Ohio State minus 12, so they're a 12-point road favorite with a total 46. As of this morning, Ohio State's still minus 12, but the total's gone up to 47.5. So definite money coming in on the over for this game.
Okay. Now, Marco, as a handicapper, what is the biggest factor that jumped out at you on this game?
Michigan needs this game to become bowl eligible.
Yep, 6 wins.
Their season's right here. If they don't win, this season's over. Outside of the fact that this is their biggest rivalry game every year, this is it for the season. It could be Rodriguez's job.
Yeah, now I've heard, and again, I'm no expert, that he's got next season. That said, and people who are not Midwestern guys, and I actually went to Ohio State, is when Treshel took the job, he stood up and said, 260 days from now, which was exactly when the Michigan game was, whatever the math of it was, you were going to be proud of this Ohio State team. He established on day one that you can measure me by this Michigan team or this Michigan series.
Sure.
And it really is two ways. It's not as if Michigan, actually there's something funny, is Bruce Springsteen, I don't know if you guys saw this, played in Detroit.
Yeah,
and he said, welcome Ohio. He goes, it's good to be back in Ohio. And let's just say they weren't too happy.
Yeah, I saw
and
that.
Woody Hayes, literally, when he would recruit Michigan, would gas up the car in Ohio all the way to the full and then drive up, recruit, and then wouldn't get gas up there because he didn't want to pay Michigan State tax. That's a true story, and that's the kind of rivalry this is. So on the Ohio State side, you can't question the motivation because someone might say, hey, they're already in the Rose Bowl. Doesn't matter if they win or lose. Treshel, Ohio State, this matters to them as much as any game, and clearly Michigan because of the bowl eligibility. So I don't think motivation is an issue here.
No, I agree with you 100%. And if you want to put a little more history in Ohio State, there was a coach there prior to Treshel, Cooper, that did everything but won everything except he couldn't beat Michigan, and it cost him his job.
Go win bowl games, yeah.
Well, but I think they would live more with losing a bowl game than losing to Michigan.
All right, so we know max motivation, which usually favors the competitive underdog. Vegas runner, what is the one handicapping factor that most jumped out for you?
The only thing I've seen Michigan have success at so far this season is running the ball. And that's the only thing you won't have success doing against Ohio State, who's number 3 in college football against the rush. So I really think that's going to be the deciding factor here. They're going to get Michigan from down, and then it's going to be trouble if they have to pass the ball. I lean Ohio State.
So you have a clear lean, Ohio State.
Definitely. I agree with you. I think they're even more motivated knowing if we beat this team, they won't be bowl eligible. And I think the scare against Iowa, only winning by a field goal in overtime, is enough to motivate them that they have to bring their A game.
Now, we previewed Ohio State, Iowa, and one of the things I talked about was profiling teams. Is this a team that you want to be laying a big number with?
Right.
Is this a team that you want to, like Oklahoma we've been talking about, is a team that's not afraid to run it up when they're a road favorite. Ohio State, to me, is a team I want to be an underdog. I'm much more comfortable against the USC maybe getting 7 or 6.5 than I am laying a big number. So I'm not so sure that it's a great spot for Ohio State laying the big number. Do you have a lean on this game, Marco?
Right now, I have a lean to Michigan, and in rivalry games like this, generally speaking, you want to first look for the dogs. You have to have a good reason to go to the favorites when you deal with rivalry games. Then whenever you have a situation where one team's already got their goal for the season sewed up, now the other team has a little more motivation. So that's why I would lean to the Michigan side here. With their offense, and given what you just said about Ohio State, even if you're down 14, 17 points in this game, you've always got that backdoor capability with the Michigan offense. And that's something that because coaches that play tight, one of my, games that I used last week, and it was Vegas Runners free pick, was Notre Dame. That's a factor in handicapping. Wannstedt plays, conservative when he gets to a certain point.
The head coach of Pitt.
The head coach of Pitt in Notre Dame with a high potent offense was able to come back and get a backdoor cover in a game that, even though we won it, really for 3.5 quarters, we're on the wrong side in the game.
Well, you're going to win some that you're not supposed to, and you're going to lose some you're not supposed to. So hopefully those even out. All right, so and he makes a good point. If Ohio State does get up 14, 17 points, Ohio State's conservative in general.
Correct.
Up double digits or extra conservative. Michigan isn't going to give up. So I would say, and think about it, if you look at winning possibilities is 100 units or 100 percentage point spectrum. And you might say if the lines maker is exactly right, 50 is going to fall on one side of the number, 50 is going to fall on the other. But on the 50 that's going to fall a certain way, so let's say you have a lean towards Ohio State, so let's say you think it's 55-45, let's say. The question is, how are you going to get to those 55? A certain amount of time Ohio State's going to win by 30. A certain amount of time they're going to score a late touchdown.
Right.
That's the way to look at it, because it's that likelihood in each given spot. To me, when I look at the Michigan side of their 50 or 55 or 45%, whatever opinion you have on the game, I'm thinking the backdoor cover is an inordinate chunk of their win likelihood than in a normal situation. Michigan can throw the ball. Ohio State's going to get conservative when they're up. You're getting double digits. Does that concern you?
Not at all, because not at all. Because I think this Ohio State team is one of the most underrated teams in college football.
Give me a stat on it.
Since their loss to Boise State, since they lost to USC, the opening game, they've won 8 of 9. More importantly, they've covered.
Boise State, you got
Oregon. It's the Oregon who lost against Boise State. They're 8-3 against the spread with a 9-2 record, and pretty much no respect this team has gotten all year. I mean, Iowa's quarterback was out. That's the only reason they were 17 points favorites last week.
Michigan. Did you watch the game? Ohio State?
Not all of it. No, I didn't.
Watch again?
I
watched a little bit of the game.
Any takeaways from that game? Because clearly,
I think they went in thinking this was going to be a cakewalk. Because you're going up against a freshman quarterback, and you got a great defense.
The Rose Bowl's on the line, and you think there was motivation issues?
No, not motivation issues. I just think they didn't think they were going to be in for a battle.
Now, wait, real quick. The Rose Bowl was on the line last week. Ohio State's got
They're in. It's confirmed.
It's a situation that we always talk about, the injured player theory, that there's a bit why we like to take the injured team.
The step up, yeah.
The injured team always brings it up an extra notch to compensate for the loss, but psychologically, the opponent gets that, we just caught a break. We're missing, the star player there.
People don't understand how bad this Michigan team is. Defensively, they're not ranked better than 80th in any college, in any category.
So let me ask you a question.
And defensively.
We got a new feature at pregame.com, is Today in Sports Betting. There's a podcast every day
I did it yesterday.
at noon Eastern time, and I was the first guest on Monday, and I talked about how you can learn, actually, even on a given Saturday, things you can use later that day. And I thought one of the learning opportunities was when Penn State, which you really liked, didn't perform well again against Indiana, then it made you question maybe how good Ohio State was, because Ohio State beating Penn State was a real statement. As you look at Penn State and underperforming, you still look at Ohio State as an underrated team.
I think they're extremely underrated. According to the odds makers, he's got him 7th, and the AP's got him 9th. So it's not a big difference between them. But I think the public perception, the betting public, I don't see a lot of people that cash tickets with this 8-3 ATS record of Ohio State. They haven't been heavily backed any of the weeks.
All right, well, good stuff. That was segment 1. Next up, more college football. We're going to be looking at Mississippi and LSU. And remember, you can get all of our videos at pregame.tv, or if you want to download and listen, just go to iTunes and search for pregame.com.